applause loop and a screaming loop, right?
Correct.
And this loop, which had to run for minutes at a time, because it had to go over edits and everything else, and it was actually the track from the audience. It wasn't a fake track, but it had to cover up a lot of little things. So Eddie had a tape running five machines
running into the studio,
running in the studio, out of the studio, out the studio door, back in again, and they were completely around the control room.
Loops of audience from different places, just to cover up all the rough spots. But it was you guys out there, well, maybe not you guys, but maybe you guys a little older than you guys who were there.
Right here, right.
I was just curious about the Kiss Army. Really was a pioneering type of a project in terms of something within the band structure. How did that idea come about? Carol, you had something?
Kiss, every album that came out, of course, was just beaten down by the press. But for every time they were beaten down, the fans just grew and grew and grew. We would have kids hanging out at our office. And the great thing about it is the guys used to come up and they used to talk to them. They'd sit out in the halls on the floor. They used to be so patient and wonderful, and these kids would hang out for days and follow them all over the place, and the band always managed to find the time. So with the press really pounding on them, the audiences grew, their fans grew, and we were talking one day, and it almost was like saying it's an army, and that's ultimately from that how the whole Kiss Army fan club came about. People said, gee, Kiss Army, and all the guys, they thought it was a great idea. It was put together that way.
Anything to add, Bill, about the Kiss Army? The Destroyer followed up alive, and that was quite a departure for the band. It was a very production record, very dynamic, but it wasn't like the other records as rough and ready sounding. I understand that at the time, once the band recorded the record, and even after it was released, this is you, Bill, that the band was a bit scared and kind of weren't sure of the record. Is that true? Because maybe they felt they went into a different direction as opposed to what the audience preferred.
It was a little different from them because we had done Kiss Alive, and it was a raw live record, and it did so well that doing a heavy production record, now they were a little bit nervous about it. On top of it, Bob Ezrin, who did that record, is a very, very strong-willed producer. So there was also a little friction with Peter and Ace. Peter and Ace are really free-flowing guys. Whatever happens, everything's fine. And Bob was like, this is the way it's going to be done. And so they were they weren't really too happy about that. Paul and Gene liked the structure. They're more structure-oriented anyway. And so we went through, we didn't have a rough time doing the album, but it was so different for them. It was the first heavy production album they'd ever done in their career. So they were nervous when it came out. And they were also nervous because of the ballad, because at that time, the heavy rock groups were not putting out ballads. And as I recall, we had a big discussion whether or not it was going to be on the record or was not going to be on the record. And I demanded that it was going to be on the record. Bob certainly wanted it on the record, and Peter obviously wanted it on the record, and obviously it was, and then it became a major hit. But now, as all of you know, most heavy metal groups have to have a ballad or two before the record company will put out their record.
One of the most amazing Kiss press cues was the Cadillac High, Michigan event that I know Carol was there for that, and I'm sure you were there for that, so you must both have some interesting recollections of that.
What happened is that a high school football coach had seen the band in Michigan and was really taken by them. In the interim, his football team had not been doing very well, and he wanted to kind of give them a lift and really get them motivated. So during practice, he used to put on the Kiss albums. And all of a sudden, they really started getting into it and they started winning games. And he had sent a letter to Bill, the management office, about this. And Bill called me and said, come over, we're having a round table, and we're going to talk about this, because should we just answer the letter and say thank you very much, it's nice to hear that the band won games because of listening to Kiss albums, or maybe we can take it a step farther. And this goes back to the point of taking something and making it even bigger than life. And so we had our round table meeting, and we decided that we were going to contact the coach. We would, the group was willing to go there and even perform. And I think what happened when, I think he almost had a heart attack when he called.
What we did is we made one stipulation, and the stipulation was that anyone who was going to be involved with us in Cadillac, Michigan, had to wear Kiss makeup. And we printed up little flyers that told them how to do the makeup, and we bought makeup for them, we sent them to them. And it started mushrooming, and finally when we went there, the whole school was made up as Kiss.
Including the mayor of the town, all the political officials, the teachers were showing kids how to do the makeup, remember, and little kids were doing it, and it was just an amazing thing.
So we finally had, they changed the names of the streets in the town, and then we finally had a big rally at the football field. And I remember one thing, I said, boy, we have to have a final finish. What are we going to do? And we didn't really have an awful lot of money to do it, and there was no money, they weren't giving us any money, this was a promotional piece, so we were trying to do this on a fly, I think. But what we did is we convinced someone to give us a helicopter, but we couldn't afford to fly the helicopter, so we said, well, suppose we just fly it for 5 minutes. So what we did is we had the helicopter land, the Kiss ran from the rally and jumped in the helicopter and was throwing out leaflets. It went up, it went over the hedges, and right down again. Yeah.
But the thing is what we had done when it was decided that we were going to make this an event, because I felt that I had a problem with bringing Kiss what we call as a crossover, because people had many different ideas of what the image of this band was all about. There was, people thought it was Satanism, people thought they were evil, and all these kind of things. And in order to try to kind of solidify the fact that they weren't, and that we could cross them over, what better place than a small town in the Midwest? So what I did is we brought 30 press people with us, and from all over the country, and photographers. And what we did is we used this event to service publications all over the world that normally would not have been interested in Kiss. But when they saw political figures and they saw kids and teachers dressed in Kiss makeup, it kind of eased the whole tension about what Kiss was all about. And even Reader's Digest did a cover of Paul jumping on the football.
Ron, I was curious, around in 1977, 78, you went in and remixed the Wicked Lester record. It was supposed to come out Epic, it was supposed to come out through Epic, correct? And what happened with it?
Well, what did they want to do it? I'm not exactly sure how that came about, Ken, but sometime during their popularity generating more and more interest, Columbia decided they had something in the can that was worth putting out as a Kiss product. So they called me at Electric Lady and said, look, come on up here and do some remixing. We think that we have a Kiss album in the can that nobody knows about. So I said, fine. I went over to Columbia and I mixed an album for the same A&R department that bought them originally. And they still own the product, by the way. That the Kiss album, the Wicked Lester album was never sold. So we went and remixed, and somewhere along the line, either Gene or Paul or Bill or somebody realized that there was a product out there that really was unlike Kiss, but it was Paul and it was Gene, and maybe it would be a good idea to put this out. It was a real slick Beatlesque type of an album, had nothing to do with what the Kiss image is. So what had happened was,
somewhere along the line, they decided, I think Paul and Gene decided that it would be a good idea to buy that album from Columbia and keep it. Yeah, what happened there, Bill? You probably know about that.
Can you guys up there on the stage cool out for a while until we finish this? Thank you.
Okay. Actually, what happened is, we did talk, Keith and Paul and Ace and Peter, we all got together, and basically what we did is we forced Neil Bogart to buy it from Epic. Yeah, Neil did, yeah.
Tell me about, when you walk around here, Bill, you've seen the amazing memorabilia that's here, and there's, it's very high value. If everyone saved what they kept, we'd be millionaires. But talk a bit about the inception of the idea of having, kind of like the Beatles, such a vast array of different merchandise. Can you talk a bit about that?
Well, I'll tell you what happened. One of the reasons why it all kind of happened, other than the fact that these guys were really determined and really good showmen, is that when I left television as a director and producer, I didn't want to really be a manager behind a desk, and I really wanted to do a show. And I kept wanting the show to be bigger and bigger and bigger, and it did get bigger and bigger and bigger. And the great thing about it was that they went along with it, even when they were a little scared. And I'll give you an idea. This is going to lead into the merchandising thing. For instance, Gene blowing fire. Well, it wasn't really meant for Gene to blow fire. And what happened is I had a magician who used to blow fire, and I said, "Come on up to my office. Maybe this would be a good thing to put in the act." And so the guys were sitting on a couch, and this fire blower came in, and he took some kerosene and put his mouth, blackened my wall, and they all kind of went, "Whoo!" And I said, "Well, who's going to do it?" And everyone was kind of like, I don't know. And sure enough, Gene went, "Well, maybe I could do it." And Gene was always the first one. I knew that even if I had things I had planned for Paul or for Peter or for Ace, if I didn't work it out so that they actually liked it, Gene would say he'd want to do it before anyone did, because he was the first one to always say yes. Anyway, that's how he started to spit fire, and the guy taught him how to do it in the proper procedure, and it happened in my office. What happened is, as the show started developing, when you start doing production of any type, it obviously leads to visual pictures, whatever it is. It always does for me. And visual pictures to go to T-shirts, and T-shirts to booklets. And at that point, I figured that we could do a lot more. There wasn't any reason for it. And no one else was really doing it, because they really didn't believe that rock and roll, you could do it, or you'd try it and you'd lose money on it, or whatever. And as a part of the whole KISS Army and everything else, we started developing a merchandising company. And anything that we had in mind, we just did. It's like anything else, and anything that you want to do, if you really believe in it, it's almost something that's more gut level than it is business level. It's a gut level, and it's in kind of a third eye here that says we want to do it, and it has to do with fun and excitement and wanting to do it first. And we've been lucky enough that it was also financially successful. But that's how it all began.
What's it like for you to see? I know you probably haven't had a chance to walk around too much, but what's it like to see what you spawned so many years later?
Yeah, it's really amazing. Yeah. Yeah. Carol?
I don't know if any of you know this, but with the first, the KISS comic book, that was something else that we wanted to make special. And so in deciding how we were going to handle this, we came up with the idea of the guys pricking their fingers and mixing their blood with the red ink of the comic book. So that's KISS blood in that first comic.
Yeah.
And they did that, and that got a lot of attention.
We actually did that backstage at our first Madison Square Garden date. We had a doctor come down and his nurse with a syringe to take blood out of each one of the guys' eyes.
It was a big Red Cross truck.
And I couldn't believe it. I don't think